In this film, I think that your character is one of the single most important roles that we see, simply because it's such a dark and dramatic film, but with your character, we see an image of a strong black man who's not gonna back down. And I think that was so important for us to see in a film where everything else was just so heavy. So can you speak to why you chose this film and what you did to prepare yourself for this role?
Well, first, thank you. Second, what Catherine did with this movie and what Mark Bowl did with the script was something that intrigued me in a great way, because they really gave you every aspect of masculinity and how to utilize it correctly.
Right.
With my character, it was never, as a man, if you respect me, I'm respect you. If you show me respect, if you show me dignity, I'm gonna show you dignity.
Right.
But if you get out of the box, we're gonna have a problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was something, you know, because I grew up with a great man in my house, and my dad was very diligent about how we dealt with other men. And that was something that I wanted to portray in this character. You never let a lesser man justify your masculinity.
Yeah, it definitely comes across. And of course, this isn't your first time working with Catherine.
Right.
So what was this experience like collaborating with her this time around?
It was fun. I mean, look, Catherine is my safe place. Every time I talk to her, every time I see her, we laugh, giggle, and have fun. And I love her to death. And I know that when I step on set, she's going to get the best performance out of me.
Yeah.
And I know if I don't give her the best performance, she's going to cut it to make it look really well.
Right.
So that's something that you can't, you don't get that from every director. So if she called me and asked me to do the outgoing message on her phone, I'm going to do it.
Right. There seems to be a trend in Hollywood for sure right now where we are having our stories told a bit more. Do you think that that's a good thing, and will you continue to sign on to projects like this?
I think, no, I ain't doing no black movies. Yes, it's a very good thing. And I think, you know, it's not just our stories. I think, you know, you're seeing a lot of stories about women being told now. Hidden Figures was a monumental occasion last year. And you're seeing a lot of stories, you know, about different ethnicities. There are a lot of Latino women and men that are out there doing work and telling stories. So it's great to see that Hollywood is learning that the racial understanding in America is that we want to see other people doing other shit.
Right, right.
You know?
Yeah. It's so unfortunate, though, that this film brings up so many emotions. As I was leaving my press screening, I was pulled over by the police, and I immediately started praying.
Right.
And I mean, I was like, oh my God, I just come from seeing Detroit.
Right.
And it's kind of unfortunate because that is something that happens to us as African Americans when we are pulled over by the police. So in your own words, what do you think is a solution with moving forward? Because this happened, what, nearly 50 years ago, but it's still relevant today.
Right.
So how do we deal with that, and how do we take away the fear when it comes to dealing with the police?
It's not so much the fear, it's the frustration and anger. I think police need to understand why black men are so aggressive towards them and why black people are so afraid of them. And black people need to try and understand why police are so afraid of us. Have that conversation and meet somewhere in the middle, because you can't be in a relationship without communication.
Right.
And with the verdict for, you know, that brother Castile being murdered,
right. And
with that verdict coming out, I think we should—
1 year anniversary of that right now.
We should take his life and we should take that loss and use it for communication.
Right.
And actually, you know, make his life mean something, that because it was lost. And give people and police the opportunity to just have the most ignorant, drag out conversation about race and police brutality, and say what you think and don't be PC.
And make it public so we can all hear it.
Public.
Right.
And don't be PC.
Yeah.
If you're a cop and you feel a certain way, you say it.
Absolutely. Well, I think Detroit definitely opens up that conversation.
Definitely.
So thank you so much. You did a phenomenal job, and I can't wait for people to see you in this film.
Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you. With this film, Detroit, it happened almost 50 years ago, but it was at a time where the population was nearly 40% African American, and the police force was 95% white. Unfortunately, a lot of events that happen with police brutality are still going on today. So can you just speak to why it's important for us to uncover our truths and tell these kind of stories from an artist's perspective?
I'll tell you, the first thing that struck me was that I did not know of this particular incident when this film came about.
Right.
And I think it says so much to how many of these incidents have not been told.
Right.
How many people's voices have not been heard. And healing doesn't start until you are heard. And I think that one of the major things that this film is going to do is going to open up a dialogue so that everyone can see not only your side that you inherently are used to standing on when one of these incidents happen, but also see the other side. What are they talking about? What goes on behind their closed doors? Because until we humanize each other, because racism isn't a black problem, it's everybody's problem. We're not just doing this on our own because it's fun.
Right.
You know, everybody's involved, and until we have that mutual conversation and that mutual understanding and humanize each other, then we're going to continue to see more and more Detroits.
Absolutely. And my next question, as a millennial, why do you think it's important? Because we've seen you in Dear White People, and you have been taking on these type of roles, and we can see that there's a trend happening in Hollywood where we're getting a chance to finally see these stories being told. But from a millennial's standpoint, why do you continue to sign on to this type of project? Why do you think it's important for young people to know about stories like Detroit?
Well, I think, one of the key components into understanding what is now like kind of millennials feel is the continuing of the civil rights movement is understanding the history. We didn't know about these incidences. I went into it the same way Laz did. I had no idea this incident had even happened. Right. But as doing our research and figuring these things out, seeing the parallels between what's happening now, there is something about it that is, and it's a weird sense of comfort of like, we've been here before, we can keep pushing, but then it's also really frustrating of why are we still here?
Yeah.
So that's why, for this generation, we need to have these things.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they can quickly get brushed under the rug, and I think that's what our job is artists, artists of, journalists, everything, to make sure that these don't go by.
Right.
People need to understand this and hear these stories, hear them screaming from the grave and address their voices.
Right, absolutely. And Ben, my next question is for you. There's a line in the film where one of the police officers says, I'm just going to assume that you did something. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's just a truth that a lot of African Americans, especially African American men, have to deal with as a reality. So can you just talk a little bit about creating your character and having to go to dark places to really go there?
Yeah. A big theme that we sort of tackled was in order to be able to do what these people did to the young men in that motel, was dehumanize them to the level that these police officers weren't doing what they did to people.
Yeah.
Which is a really shitty, ugly, dark, disgusting place to go. But and I guess that's the central problem with racism and with that idea. It's it's like you said earlier. It's some of these police officers don't see a young man walking down the street. They see a weapon.
Yeah.
And I mean that's dehumanization immediately. It's like there goes a threat, and that's not a dude just walking the dog.
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the main thing. And then jumping straight back out of that and hanging out with these guys afterwards.
Right. Right. And you guys got a chance to work with Oscar award-winning Catherine Bigelow. I mean, what was that process like? Because she's incredible. This is an incredible film. It was extremely hard and brutal to watch, but it's something that we need to see. So what was that process like collaborating with her?
Phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the magic that she is able to achieve when she shoots a film, and not just ours, but everything that we've seen of hers, is that she takes you in the audience and puts you in the film.
Yeah.
And even having read the script and knowing what happened, when I saw the film for the first time, I was nervous. I was frustrated. I was sad. I was happy. I was angry. I felt all these emotions.
Yes.
And it was almost as if I didn't know what was happening next, because I was a part of the story, and I think that's where her gift really lies.
You don't feel like you watched a movie with this. You felt like you were there.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what people need for this. They need to feel like they were in these situations, so that when you see these situations happen again, you relate to it.
Right.
You relate to it as if I was there and I remember what that felt like.
Oh no, I felt like I was literally being beaten up in my seat. Right. At the press screening I was at, there were journalists that actually got up and walked out, and it was that intense. You know what I mean? Right. You guys all did a phenomenal job with this film, and I can't wait for people to see it, because we just need to.
We do.
All of you guys are musicians, so can you kind of just talk about how you created your characters already being musicians and then going into a film where you're also going to be portraying musicians?
Well, I brought my banjo to set every day. I think it was kind of one of the easiest parts for us, hopping into the music side of it.
Yeah.
The most challenging was, of course, the portrayal of these real life human beings that had to go through these horrific nights, but the music, that's what kind of helped us get through it in a sense, because those performance scenes, even when I wasn't there watching the brothers on stage perform, that helped us get through sets. So that was I love the music component in the film.
Yeah, I think for me it was like, I was like, oh, I'm not singing in this one. Let me just listen.
Yeah.
You know, let me just listen and then, you know, get excited, you know, and be a fan and like, you know, and be like a supporter. You know, I think that was it was a little challenging for me because I'm like, man, I wanna do the steps too. Put me on a jerker. You know,
I think the aspect of it, man, really helped us bond quicker too, because we're learning songs together, we're learning dance steps together.
Put me on the shiny jacket.
Right, and we're all millennials. So did you guys know this story before taking on these roles, or did you find out a lot about your history with taking on this project?
I found out a lot of history. I knew briefly about the Detroit riots, the rebellion, but not about the whole Algiers and all the people that were involved and how Motown played a part, and I didn't know all of that. Like,
and doing biopics is becoming a bit of a trend for your career so far.
It's going good
with the new
so far.
story and all that. So do you see yourself wanting to do other projects outside of music, or what do you see yourself doing next?
Well, my whole career, music and acting, I never want anything to be less than. So I don't want to be the actor that tries to sing or the musician that tries to act. I have to be respected at both.
Right.
So if that means doing projects that does that, then yeah, but I just want to do solid quality work. I feel like I'll always work in both fields if I do that. So.
And you guys got to work with Oscar award-winning director.
Come on, now. The first lady to ever win an Oscar.
Incredible. What was that experience like, and how did you guys actually get cast in this project?
You want to talk about this?
I mean, the audition process was probably the most unique audition process I think we all have been through. I was I think the third audition we all came in, we all was like, okay, everybody knew each other already. Like, yo, you auditioning for this? Oh, that's my job. That's my dude. So we in the room, Leon's on the guitar, strumming the guitar, we all singing. I think Leon said the moon don't lie.
Oh, I remember that song.
And I'm just like, said the moon don't lie. Everybody just like doing their own little verses.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Ben comes through. Ben comes through, opens the door, and just like with the police hat on, he's like, get on the wall! Get on the wall right now!
We didn't know what was going on, so Captain was like, you guys are just going to sing, and then I want you to react to something that happens.
So
It's like 12 of us laid up against the wall, he's patting us down, we're asking us where the gun is, and we're just like, yo.
We had no clue of the script or anything. We're just like, what gun are you talking about?
Oh my God. I mean, it was such a hard film to watch, but I think that it's something that we all need to see. And I mean, the tagline for the film, it's time we knew. It really is time we knew. You know what I mean? So why do you think the audiences should go out and see this film?
Well, just to speak briefly, I'll let y'all talk too, but we want to first educate and then also bring empathy. So we feel like, of course, it's time we knew, but we actually want there to us with this big platform and this movie that's so much more than a movie. How can we start to actually change and at least have conversations? So with us, those are just two of our goals: to educate the people who don't know, and then to bring empathy for the people who may have, some weird things going on in the heart.
Right. Last question. You guys are all attractive young men, obviously. We saw you down at Essence Festival, and your fans were going crazy. So you guys have to tell me, like, what's the craziest thing that one of your fans has done to get your attention? Like, are they sliding in your DMs? Like, what are they doing?
Yo.
Come on, you gotta give us the juice.
For me, it was I think I was in Chicago. Like a group of fans just had opened my car door and just came in.
Jumped in the car with you?
Like it was just like, yo, what are you doing? You know, like what are you? And they just hugging me tightly, and like I just see security just going.
Yeah. Just get them out of there. But it's cool that you guys have that kind of, reaction. I think you guys did an amazing job in the film, and I can't wait for people to see it. It was definitely hard to watch, but it's something we need to see. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
I wish the camera could see your shoes because they pop.
Oh, thank you.
We need a little shoe cam.
Can we get a zoom in? Can we get a shoe
Wait,
cam?